Hello and welcome to GFTL. Indie news this week. The Global Game Jam 2013 is wrapped up with the theme of The Sound of a Heartbeat, spawning literally thousands of games. Path of Exile, a Diablo-like dungeon crawler, has gone into open beta. The developers of Among the Sleep, Krillbite, have announced an experimental game called The Plan. Stephen Orlando, the creator of Treasure Adventure game, has announced a full HD remake called Treasure Adventure World, and recent and upcoming indie releases that are worth your attention. The Global Game Jam 2013 has finished spawning thousands upon thousands of games. There were 321 sites involved within 63 countries, and they were all working from the 25th to the 27th of January on the theme of the sound of a heartbeat, which meant there were all sorts of interpretations of that, such as games based on beats, games based on medicine, games based on how difficult it is to get a heart transplant donor, and although not all of them were finished, there were definitely a lot of very interesting ideas going on. The one that has definitely won over the "this is going to get played lots on YouTube" award is Surgeon Simulator 2013. I have played it, and yeah, it is a lot of fun, and I've done a video of it just because I like jumping on bandwagons, but I think it's important to remember that there are quite a lot of other games involved. The ones I've videoed for you here are A Heart for Mr. Dimitri, Grand Theft Ambulance, How Do You Take Your Coffee, Organ Trail, Reanimation, Sheep Master, Vessel Defense Nurse, and Surgeon Simulator, obviously, because it is quite a lot of fun, admittedly. So how do you know which games are good? There are lists all over the place. Rock Paper Shotgun has a good one, which I will link you to. It has a collection of very interesting games that you should definitely check out, but what is also a good idea is just to get onto their game collection list and just search for whatever you think would be there. There's various search parameters that you can set, but also it's probably worth just clicking to a random page number and seeing what's on there. So congratulations to everyone that entered. It's been really fun playing your games, and I can't wait until the next Game Jam. Path of Exile by Grinding Gear Games has gone into an open beta, and you can sign up for it on their website. Their game has flooded their servers, so many people are playing it. Some people probably just because they were so disappointed with Diablo 3. I haven't played that game, so I'm not going to pass judgment so I don't get flamed in my comment section. But the game itself has some really interesting aspects to it. The skill system is passive and has an absolutely crazy huge interconnected skill tree for all of the different hero types, of which there are 6. You can start off as a mage or a witch and end up wielding a sword and play armor. It's really a game where you choose to play however you want, and obviously there will be room for those people who are like, oh my god, there's 20 plus intelligence on this thing, so if I combine it with this armor and these boots, then I'll become absolutely amazing, and there's so much room for that. But myself, I'm not that into optimizing my characters. I just go along, build a character doing whatever I think's cool at the moment. I've been playing a witch at the moment who is called Brandy Wigbreath, and I think after getting a spell where I can raise zombies, I just spent my entire time trying to max out as much of the minion powers as possible, just getting as many skeletons and zombies and upgrades for that in the passive skill tree as possible. What's interesting is that all your powers are socketed into armor or weapons, which means that you have to find the right kind of equipment to put on, which has the right type of socket for your skill gem. The look of the game is very much pre-rendered style, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but the gameplay more than makes up for it. I've been enjoying myself very much, and I think that obviously it's a free beta demo, so it's really neither here or there on the cost to you, so check it out and let me know how you get on with it. Krillbite, the studio that is currently developing Among the Sleep, a nightmarish game with an awesome teaser trailer about a toddler and his monsters, are releasing an experimental game called The Plan. It's a 2.5D side-scroller style atmospheric game in a forest, where you play as a fly, and it's meant to explore themes of death and meaning. It's going to be a very short game with minimal gameplay, probably more about exploration and the atmosphere, and some kind of story or exploration element that will, you know, put the theme across to you and make you think about things. They've mentioned that there'll be obstacles, but it won't be particularly gameplay heavy, which leads me to think that the experiment is more on the story and atmosphere side of things. Seeing as they're doing a horror game, they probably have a very strong interest in atmosphere and tension and creating meaning from the things that you interact with. So that's probably one of the more interesting things about the game. It's very minimalistic and quite focused because it's short, and obviously you're a non-human character. It can hopefully bring a lot of insight into the way they think about the environment and how to create a story that will make you think about the things that the story is trying to get across. So this is something, it's going to be free. I'll put links to the Steam Greenlight page in the description. It'll definitely be an experience worth playing, especially for the short amount of time that it'll take. So keep an eye on that. Stephen Orlando, the creator of Treasure Adventure game, has announced that an HD remake called Treasure Adventure World is in the works. This is very exciting. I played Treasure Adventure game the whole way through several times. It's a really fun 2D platformer which gets the fun from exploration, awesome boss fights, and generally awesome platforming. There's puzzles, and hopefully as the remake is made they'll add more content in as well. It's a pretty cool story which I talked to Stephen Orlando about previously in an interview, so you can go watch that. He's a really interesting bloke, and I provided a link to the announcement trailer in the description, so look at the graphics. They're awesome, hand-drawn, which really makes a change to the pixel art that he used originally, and the soundtrack is also going to be remastered for it. So this is pretty cool news. The game ended up on GOG, it ended up all over the place, and it's really great fun just to spend a few hours messing around on a boat or jumping around in a cave using retro-inspired game mechanics. And now on to indie releases. The first one is very, very important that you listen. I Get This Call Every Day is a game by David S. Gallant, and it is a personal tale of his experiences working at the Canadian Revenue Agency. And if anyone has ever worked on a phone or in a call centre, they'll know exactly what he is on about in that game. It's a game about working to live and not being able to live to work, and what he wants to do is become a game designer. By making this game, he's made the right step, and what needs to happen now is the gaming community needs to embrace him and his creativity, because I know the feeling of working in a pretty crap job, and it's not pleasant knowing that you're just making it by, and this game is all about that. So if anyone can help him move on in his life, move on to what he wants to be doing so that he can live to work and really make a contribution to the gaming community. I know that you've done it before with Kickstarter, I know you've done it with other crowdsourcing materials, I know you've done it with other indie games, so it's definitely worth taking a look at the trailer. It's him in front of a cheap webcam saying, "This is my life and I've made a game about it." The worst thing to come out of this release story is that the Canadian Revenue Agency has fired him from his job because of the content of his game. One of the communications directors, Clark Olson, has said that the minister considers this type of conduct offensive and completely unacceptable. You can read the entire story on indiestatic.com, it's a really good website. Chris Priestman wrote a very personal reaction news story to it, and it's well worth reading, so I'll link you to that in the description. Saying that the type of conduct is offensive and completely unacceptable is moronic, if I'm going to be honest, because this is how the man feels, this is how he chooses to express how he feels, and to say that that is unacceptable is probably one of the rudest things I've heard. So what you need to do is go and help David and make sure that he can make a living being a game designer. The game is being sold on his website for a minimum of $2, and that's really nothing. So if you convert that into pounds, it's £1.27. That's less than a pint of beer, if that's how you want to put it. And because it is so cheap and using the pay what you want method, I really hope that you do spend more than $2 on it. It also has a Steam Greenlight page. Obviously, you should upvote it on that. I know how wonderful and supportive the gaming community can be, and the internet in general can be a really nice place for people to find support. So I hope that you take a good long look, and whether you think it's a good game or not, because honestly, the game looks like crap. It was probably made in MS Paint, but that is entirely beside the point. Don't look at it like that, and yeah, watch the trailer. It's well worth your time. So with that minor rant, let's move on to the next release. Pixel Dungeons has been released on Desura, and I can say that it's well worth your time because despite the fact that it's not particularly complex as an RPG, there's no real RPG elements in it. It's a fun diversionary game, and because it's a single level of a dungeon that you just kill as many things as possible as quickly as you can, there's lots of opportunity to explore and try different routes and kill zombies and stuff. The best things about this game are that it's very simple, very cheap. It's £1.99 on Desura, and you can just play it whenever with a bunch of friends. Theoretically, it says you can have as many friends with you as you want, so I guess if you intend on spending half an hour just wandering around a dungeon, then this is probably the perfect game for you. Links are in the description to where you can buy it and its main website. Terraria, the ever-popular 2D Metroidvania game, is getting a release for Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network. This is really great news. Anyone that hasn't got a PC, anyone that hasn't experienced the amazingness that is Terraria and building things and building houses and destroying giant disgusting monsters, has really missed out up until this point. It's been announced as coming soon with an update for content, new final boss, new weapons and armor, and I'm just really excited. I've bought it once on PC, so I'm probably going to buy it a second time for my Xbox. What's good is that it says there's a split screen multiplayer. In the trailer it mentions HD only. I'm not entirely sure what that means. If the split screen is only available on HD TVs or in HD resolutions, but if you do happen to have some friends that are super cool and awesome and like having fun, then there's also an 8-player online mode, which, as I know from online PC craziness, is an absolute bucket of fun. Facing off against monsters with 3-4 people can be an absolute riot, and hopefully having it on Xbox will push me to actually complete the game. I always manage to get stuck on that mecha skeleton, I can't remember what it was called, Skeletron or something like that, some silly name. It's just a really fun game, really great design, bosses, and super cool things that you can make and build. So I'm very happy that it's going on more consoles. There's actually been a PC collector's edition which comes in a box with a CD, which is something completely unheard of. The only other company I know to have done that is the guys who did Limbo. So that's super cool news. Take a look at it, take a look at the trailer. There'll be links in the description. Okay, so thank you for watching. This is the part where I ask for your feedback. What I'm thinking about at the moment is doing this as a bi-weekly thing, and the only problem with that is that on occasion, for instance, Hawken and Path of Exile, they've been going around for a while and they've been in open beta for a couple of weeks now, I think, and I'm wondering whether it's entirely important that I get the news to you as it's happening, you know, when it comes out. But the thing is, it's a compilation show of all the things that I find most important and most interesting about the indie scene this 2 weeks, I guess. So I don't know whether you feel it's important to have gotten it to you as it happens, or just the fact that I'm talking about it is important in of itself. So let me know what you think on that. So anyway, again, thank you for listening, thank you for watching. Keep an eye on those articles. Let me know if you find anything interesting at these contacts on Twitter and email. I just bought PID, so I'm going to go play that. Thank you for listening and goodbye.